Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your voice in the wilderness speaking to you again, aka Earth Pro. I'd like to read something to you, if I may, as a preface to the poetry I'm about to present on political poetry. Can a notion still exist that poetry does not have any feature but to praise beauty and bring joy, and we shall not load the heavy burden of social and political issues on its soft shoulders? I do not know, but I feel this notion can only exist in a utopia where love rules, where triggers are unknown to hands, and where ears are unfamiliar to explosions, and where freedom is another name for life. That is utopia. In a country where one's belief in Islam is measured by the length of one's beard, and its cities are rivers that smell with blood, and the blood grows instead of red flowers in the garden, and where bread is the hot topic, poetry can never be a silent spectator sitting in its beautiful ivory tower. Yes, if poetry is not political in such lands, it should be made political. With that in mind, on this, the tragic 10th anniversary of our invasion of Iraq, here are two poems, that reflect both the horror that is contemporary Iraq and a flicker of hope that still emanates from that sad, sad country. The first is entitled Mission Accomplished. The reader will clearly detect the sense of irony that pervades it. Certain terms, unfortunately, do need clarification, and I do present them to you. MRAP is an acronym, and it stands for Mine-Resistant Armored Personnel Carriers, that we used extensively before the evacuation of American troops. The Abrams vehicle is our primary battle tank. Night-goggled warriors refer to the fact that we have the unique capacity with night vision goggles to see the enemy in the evening, in the dark, in particularly the green wavelengths, which we are very, very sensitive to. The fetal malignancy of Fallujah refers to the fact that uranium-depleted munitions were extensively used in that conflict and have resulted, most definitely, in my opinion, in massive amounts, thousands upon thousands of children who were born then and are now being born with many, many horrifying birth defects. The word asymmetric, used in the poem, refers to the fact that we fought and are still fighting on other fronts an enemy that wears no uniform, an enemy that does not have a clear command structure, and most often an enemy that can literally, joyfully blow itself to death under the illusion that somehow their God commands them to do this, and that they will be going to heaven to join 72 virgins, a complete denial of the biological imperative. How do you win against an enemy like that, if there is such a thing? This award-winning poem was written in the year 2010. Sadly, I believe it still has meaning today. It has proven incredibly and sadly prophetic. The poem is entitled, again, Mission Accomplished, and it was written after the partial evacuation of American troops from Iraq in the summer of 2010. I must watch this dead of night silent retreat. I must watch this retracing of 7 long years, this green zone of illusory safety fading, this green zone of turret-ringed, razor-wired battlements fading. I, reluctant, remember him saying, mission accomplished. I watch my night-goggled warriors fleeing the killing fields of Iraq, fleeing to Kuwait. I cringe, I decry this flashing obscene V over decimated deserts of ghostly green. I turn away. Beyond the berms, uncountable dead, uncountable maimed, uncountable insane. I am allowed no rebuttal to mission accomplished. I watch the endless Abrams columns retreating. I watch the MRAP slowly creeping over living asymmetric memories. Wary of the cell phone that confounded my power. I am in shock, in awe, confused. The burqa-clad life-giver who blows 100 to hell. My vision, beclouded by new dust devils in the wake of my running. The fetal malignancy of Fallujah, the new terror of Tikrit, the chaos of Karbala, the endlessly burning Baghdad. I brood at the renewed family feud. Once so long ago, I saw an ink-dipped thumb raised in triumph in the triangle of death. For this dream deferred, I cry. For this new Mesopotamia cowering in the green zone, I cry. Gasping for respectability in a Republican God preserve, I watch the glimmer of light die. Again, this was written in the year 2010. And look, ladies and gentlemen, what is now happening all through Iraq with our leading. The second poem is entitled Risking Everything, and it was recently published. It refers to the heroic efforts of Iraqi youth to create music as part of what they call the Iraqi Youth Symphony Orchestra, created 4 years ago, in the midst of all of this chaos. Each summer, these youth, these young people, they travel to the semi-autonomous region of Kurdistan. Arab and Kurd joined together in implausible harmony. These very, very ancient enemies. They are protected by a ferocious military called the Peshmerga. Their base of operations is Arbil and Kirkuk, Arbil being the capital. And though only 200 kilometers separates Baghdad from Arbil, the socio-economic differences are light years apart. Halabja is a village in Kurdistan where Saddam gassed the Kurds in 1988. The Nai is universally played throughout the Arabic world and is the Arabic flute. Again, the poem Risking Everything. Dedicated to Zulhal Sultan, self-taught 18-year-old classical pianist from Baghdad and founder of the National Youth Symphony of Iraq, based in both Kirkuk and Arbil, Kurdistan. Listen. On the wind, a new voice, calling across ever-shifting lines of distrust. Peshmerga protecting something priceless from Arbil to Kirkuk. No more the endless dirge, tentative weaving of an exquisite melodic tapestry. Mozart to the oud now warily merged, hybridized tolerance under a Schubertian eye. Blending of tabla, sitar, violin nigh. Listen. age-old enemies in the thrall of aesthetic communion. Their ode to joy, youthful descant of implausible coalescence, exultation, jubilation, their symphony distilled from hate. Oh, you sprouting seedlings of yet another fragile spring, born of black gold's bestiality, gas, genocide, the hell of Halabja, the bliss of a summer's momentary forgetting, a Mesopotamian promise, a possibility. Someday in the sorrow that is Baghdad, the proud proclaiming of your instruments you too taught, we are not the devil's tool. Your sanguinary scimitar does not rule. Mutilators of our muse cannot follow where we go. There are portals to another kind of Mecca, where east-west applause at last resounds, acolytes rejoicing equally with the maestro and the music, a life-affirming paradise upon this earth. And with that final candle lit, that final poem, I can only pray for that very sad country and hope that someday, somewhere, they will achieve the kind of peace and harmony that they so dearly and desperately deserve. I thank you and have a lovely afternoon. This is A Voice in the Wilderness, Earth Pro, saying good afternoon.